At some point today, you heard a song. Maybe you put earbuds in without thinking. Maybe something came on and you didn't change it. But to your ancestors, none of this is entertainment. So, what did they actually do for fun? The answer reaches further back and further inside you than you are ready for. Researchers have found proof buried in caves, carved into bone, sealed inside mountains for tens of thousands of years. Your earliest ancestors were exhausted. Daylight was entirely consumed by survival. No margin for anything that did not directly keep you alive. But when the sun went down and the fire was lit, something changed. And in that narrow pocket of warmth surrounded by complete darkness, your ancestors did something no other animal on Earth has ever been documented doing. In 1995, researchers excavating a Neanderthal campsite in Slovenia found a bare femur 4 inches long with 2 deliberately punched holes, the Divje babe flute, 60,000 years old, made by a Neanderthal. A species we spent a century calling primitive. It had one purpose, to make a sound no one needed to hear. The hands that made it had spent the previous hours butchering the rest of that bear, pulling fat from the carcass, blood still drying in the creases of the knuckles, and then someone picked up a piece of what was left, put it to their mouth, and played. This is why music hits your body before your brain can process it. It has been bypassing rational thought for 60,000 years. It still remembers the fire, but what they did next is harder to explain. First, pigment. The oldest evidence of humans decorating their own bodies comes from Blombos Cave in South Africa, 100,000 years old. Red ochre ground into fine powder, mixed with animal fat, stored in abalone shells, not cave walls. Skin. No other primate does this. The moment your ancestor rubbed red pigment into their skin, they imagined how they looked to someone else. That ability is the seed of every social structure, every hierarchy, every culture that has ever existed. It is also the seed of every insecurity you have ever felt about how you look. The same cognitive leap. The same program. By 40,000 years ago, the world of human play had exploded. Jewelry carved from shell, instruments made from mammoth ivory and vulture bone, small sculptures of animals rendered with precision that took researchers decades to accept as that old. And dice. Knuckle bones from deer and goats, shaped and carried in small pouches, used to gamble with scoring systems complex enough to require someone keeping count. 10,000 years before the first city, before writing, before laws, humans were already gambling. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years recording conversations among the Jew/Honsi Bushmen of the Kalahari and published her findings in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2014. During daylight, 80% of conversations were practical. But after dark, around the fire, 81% were stories. Here is what that number actually means. For roughly a third of every 24-hour period, your ancestors were not processing reality. They were living inside fictional worlds. We think of ourselves as rational creatures who occasionally enjoy a story. The data says the opposite. We are story-processing animals who occasionally deal with reality. The fire was not where ancient humans relaxed after serious work. It was where they did the most distinctly human thing they knew how to do. Every platform on Earth is selling you what your ancestors made for free in the dark. Streaming services, news feeds, every argument you watch strangers have online. All story wearing a different costume. That is why you cannot stop at midnight. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing the only thing it was ever built to do. In 1994, explorers found the Chauvet Cave in southern France. Sealed for 36,000 years, inside were paintings that stopped art historians cold. Horses with shaded musculature, lions mid-lunge. A rhinoceros drawn with 8 overlapping legs suggesting full motion. Technique that should not exist that far back. But here is what almost nobody knows. Researchers studying the acoustics of decorated prehistoric caves, Chauvet, Lascaux, Altamira, and dozens of others, found something that changed everything. The walls with the most paintings are not the flattest walls or the brightest walls. They are the walls with the best resonance. Cave after cave, across multiple continents. The paintings cluster at the exact spots that produce the loudest echo when you strike them or sing into them. Your ancestors were not decorating a cave. They were marking the places where the cave was alive. They brought people into the deepest chambers, lit torches, and let the animals move on the walls while the mountain echoed back. The paintings animated in firelight. The walls sang. Everyone felt it in their chest at the same time. They called it sacred. We call it cinema. There is less difference between those two words than we like to admit, and it gets stranger. Across the Levant, the Andes, ancient Siberia, and the Sahara. In cultures with no contact, separated by oceans and tens of thousands of years, researchers keep finding the same evidence. Seeds of psychoactive plants buried with the dead. fermented residue in vessels far older than any civilization, chemical traces on ritual objects with no nutritional value and no survival purpose. Your ancestors deliberately sought states of consciousness that dissolved the edges of the self, not accidentally. Repeatedly, ritually, everywhere. Researchers at Johns Hopkins and Imperial College London spent the last decade studying what happens to the human brain during profound psychedelic experiences. What they found is in peer-reviewed journals and has not made it into a single history textbook. The neurological state produced by psilocybin, found in mushrooms your ancestors had access to everywhere they lived, is measurably identical to the states described in the foundational mystical experiences of every major religion on earth: the burning bush, the voice from the sky, the dissolution of the self into something vast. These are not metaphors. They are a specific neurological event every human brain can produce, that ancient people knew how to trigger, and that entire civilizations then spent thousands of years trying to reconstruct, without the original method. The churches exist because someone experienced something real. Then someone tried to describe it to people who had never felt it. Then other people built institutions around the description. Every cathedral, every prayer whispered in the dark, every person who ever knelt before something they could not see but could feel. It may all trace back to one specific night in a cave when someone ate something growing near the fire and came back changed. Your brain still carries the receptor systems built for that state. Every altered state you seek is a domesticated echo of the same impulse: alcohol, caffeine, the runner's high. The moment in a piece of music when something opens in your chest and you cannot explain why. Brief, controlled dissolutions of the boundary between yourself and everything else. That need did not develop in a bar or a yoga studio. It developed in a cave between 40,000 and 100,000 years ago, in the dark, with something in your hand that would take you somewhere no predator could follow. Every song you play when you don't know why you need it. Every story you disappear into at the wrong hour. Every moment you seek out just to feel something larger than the day you were in. Still running. Right now. Your brain doesn't know about streaming platforms or concert halls. It only knows this: play when the work is done. Tell the stories. Find the places where the walls sing back. Go somewhere bigger than yourself. Because when the darkness closes in, that is the only thing that holds the group together until morning. Tonight, when you put those earbuds in, even though you don't need to, even though the silence would be fine, you are running a 60,000-year-old program, still seeking the music, still looking for the fire. But the cave it was built for is gone. If you dropped a 50,000-year-old human into a concert hall, a dark room, thousands of people, all facing a stage, all feeling the same thing at the same time, they would not be confused. They would feel the bass in their chest. They would hear thousands of voices in the dark. They would understand immediately. Not the language, not the technology, but the reason everyone came. They have been doing this their whole life. For 60,000 years, every human who ever lived made something beautiful in the dark for no survival reason. Most of them died before 35, cold and hungry, in a world trying to kill them every day. And they still made the music. You have heat, food, safety, and every song ever recorded in your pocket. And sometimes you can't find anything worth listening to. Think about what that means.